Hi everyone and welcome to the Publishing Performance Show. I'm here with Michele DeFilippo, who is the owner of 1106 Designs, which is a project management and cover design and lots of services tool for authors and self-published authors. So thank you for joining me, Michele.
Thank you so much, Teddy. It's great to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. So why don't you tell me first a little bit about your background and what got you started in working with authors in the first place?
Well, I've been in the publishing industry for 52 years now, somehow. I don't know where all that time
Wow.
went. But I started in 1972. My first job was with Crown Publishers in New York City, where I grew up. And
Yep.
that was my first introduction to publishing. And then through the years, I've done a bunch of different things. I owned a typesetting business for 13 years, from 1980 to 1993. And that was actually, along with every other typesetting business in the world, it was put out of business by Steve Jobs when the Macintosh computer came along. And then I've done freelancing, and now since 2001, I own 1106 Design, which specializes in serving authors and helping them with all the services they need to produce a great book.
Right. Wow. So what's typesetting? What does that mean?
I see. Nobody knows what it is. Very strange. Well, when you pick up a book and you read the pages, someone had to typeset it. Now, today it's called formatting, but
Yeah.
believe it or not, there's dozens and dozens of rules that are followed when you make book pages, so that the text is easy to read and it doesn't distract the reader, instead lets them focus on your message. And so we attend to a whole bunch of different issues that are literally invisible after we're done, but it facilitates reading comprehension. And that's the way a major publisher will produce the book. And that's the way we still do it, even when we're working for indie publishers who may not necessarily understand what we're doing.
Yeah. Wow. So you really have gone from right back before there was any sort of digital use of printing all the way to now. So you are really the expert on formatting and how to create a really good looking book.
That's right. In fact, it's funny. Yet just yesterday, my son and I were talking, and I was explaining how we used to do the job before, before computers. And I'll just give you one example. If you wanted to put text on a page in a box, you literally had to draw that box with pen and ink and make it perfectly square. So I don't know how we got anything done. It was much more labor, but we did, and it was much more labor intensive than it is now. That's for sure.
Yeah, wow. It's actually one thing I noticed the other day. I was looking at, I've got a small child and I read her books and I look at the back page of the books. I notice the price is kind of like the same from 20-year-old books from when I was younger as it is now. I'm guessing just because a lot of it is less labor intensive to put these books together must be a big part of it.
Well, the production of a book, that what we do, is not really a big part of the expenses that a publisher or even an indie publisher might face. The larger expense is the retail sales commission.
Right.
A lot of people don't know, when a book is listed on Amazon, that Amazon takes 40% of the cover price. And
Yeah.
then printing has to be paid for. And we try to explain to authors that there are more economical ways to go about it than they might typically find if they search Google for information on how to proceed.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Amazon does take a lot. It's just so convenient. It's difficult to not use them, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you have to be there. Every once in a while, we'll run into an author who says, "I don't want to put my book on Amazon," and I tried to tell them, "You have to." There's no
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's like a video maker saying they don't want to put their videos on YouTube. It's like, well,
Yeah,
that's where we are now.
yeah.
So talking about these designs and how the books are formatted, one of the main things you do now is project management for books and for authors so they can get their book from that beginning stages where there's maybe an idea or it's not formatted yet, all the way to getting it live, which is quite unusual to have that whole process like end to end for a company, which I think is great. So why don't you just walk us through what that working with you would look like from the
Well,
beginning?
sure. Well, a lot of, if you can see the messages yourself online, a lot of authors are overwhelmed with what do I do? There's almost too much information online, and from our perspective, a lot of the information is wrong. And authors get into a lot of trouble by hiring the wrong people, or and then just the sheer work of having to manage the project and manage all of the people that are needed to produce a book can be overwhelming. So that's where we come in. I have a team of 20 people. We help with everything from editing to cover design, interior typesetting. We proofread the book, we make an ebook, we help but most importantly of all, we help the author upload the book to their print on demand accounts to feed the retailers so that when a book is sold, they're not sharing their revenue with anyone else. They're getting all of the revenue possible in the book publishing world in their bank account directly. They're not, no, there's no middleman in there putting their hand in the author's pocket, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, no, of course. So what are some of the mistakes that you see writers making at the moment?
Oh, I love my authors. They're great. They've worked so hard on their book and they've put their heart and soul in it, sometimes for years. We're working on a book right now from an author who has been writing his book for 40 years.
Right.
It's a book of poetry. It's going to be 500 pages. He picked all the saints from the Bible and he wrote a poem about each one of them, 144 saints.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he's an older gentleman. He's a lovely, lovely man. And we are now in the process of formatting the pages of his book. The cover is done. And yeah, it's a great experience to work for authors. Sometimes authors follow advice from other authors online. Go to Fiverr and hire a book cover designer, format the book yourself in Microsoft Word or Vellum or whatever other software is around now. And as you might expect, they don't have the training or the experience that we have and others like we have, and so they don't get the results may look good to them, but they don't get the same results as they should, which is necessary in order to make the book stand out well online.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do see that a lot. I mean, sometimes you do get some great covers with from Fiverr, but it really just does depend on the person you're working with and the type of book you want. And I think it can be a bit random, so you don't have that consistency across all the different books you're making, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, what I recommend authors do is, instead of just focusing on their book or their design or their typesetting, is that they go to a major publisher website and look at the covers there and make
Mm,
sure that their designer is working at that level. You will see a day and night difference usually between the typical self-published book cover and the kind of book covers that a major publisher produces. And that's the level that we work at.
yeah. So who are the sort of people that you generally work with? Is it people who are maybe doing their first book, or is it more people who have already got some books out and they want to professionalize their services?
Oh, everything you can imagine. From the most of our authors, I would say, are first-time authors doing their first book. But we also work for many people who have come back over and over again over the years. We've done 5 Western novels for a local attorney here in Phoenix. We've done business books for people who come back again and again for another book to promote their business or their consulting practice. Everything you can think of. We just finished a biography of Winston Churchill, which was 850 pages with 6,000 footnotes. Uh, so we've seen everything here.
That must have taken a long time
It did.
to format that one. Yeah.
It did. It was a year-long project because we started with the editing and then all of the usual typical services that an author needs. It did take a while, but it was just wonderful to do.
Yeah. So before we had the show, when we were chatting at the beginning, we were talking about project management for authors and why that is so important. So why don't you tell me a bit about project management for authors? So, because I think a lot of people, they just want to do their writing, they don't want to focus on those other parts. So which of the parts that authors are missing, do you think, that project
Well,
management really helps with?
yeah, well, like I said, it's experience. So many of them are entering the publishing business for the first time. So, if whatever you do for a living, if you look back at your first job, chances are your work is better today than it was then. So the same is true for authors. We will start with the manuscript. That's all the author needs, is a completed manuscript. And the first step is generally copy editing or sometimes substantive editing, depending on what the manuscript needs. We'll start usually with an editorial evaluation so that we know and the author knows just how much work the text needs, and then we'll proceed on that basis. And while the editing is going on, we'll start designing the cover. And once the editing is done, then we'll go into the interior design. People don't know pages need to be designed and then formatted.
Yeah.
So we'll design the pages first, work back and forth with the author on just how the pages are going to look, and then go ahead and do the typesetting. Then our almost final step is to proofread those typeset pages. At that point, we're looking for typos that everybody missed along the way, and we're also looking for quality typesetting issues, tight and loose lines, making sure the book pages actually look like book pages according to the conventions in the industry. And then we will make the ebook when all of the corrections are done. So, and then most importantly, like I said, we will upload the book to the author's print on demand accounts, so that they never lose control of their book, and they always will get the revenue directly to their bank account instead of to a publisher's bank account first. And
Yeah.
you can find the stories about that online too.
Yeah. Publishers do take quite a lot. With are there particular types of books that you work with, or are you happy to work with any type of author?
Oh gosh, we do everything. We do everything from children's books to memoirs, biographies, fiction, nonfiction, textbooks. A few years back, we did a textbook for a dentist that had something like 150 charts. It was all about the mineralization of teeth. Um, you just never know what's going to come in the door here.
Yeah. And I can see you also have a lot. You do audiobook narration. So are those people that you work with? Are they in house to your agency, or is it? Do you work with other narrators?
Well, for audiobooks, that's really a specialized field. We do work with an audio producer who knows all about sound and recording and breathing and all of that, and he provides a selection of narrators, and we'll share those samples with the author so that they can find a voice that they think is appropriate for their book. And then again, when all the corrections are done to the print book, that's when we'll start the audiobook.
Yeah, because I think audiobooks. I think it's going to be the next thing on Amazon, where because it is still a bit underrepresented compared to books. I think a lot of books, which could be great audiobooks, aren't on there yet, and especially with Audible and the amount you can get with the free Audible books now.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so is that a lot? Do you do a lot of working with the authors on those audiobooks?
Yeah, audiobooks are selling like hotcakes now, and I think
Yeah.
we've only seen the beginning of that. But the actual, people when ebooks first came out, everyone predicted the demise of the print books. That hasn't happened. Print books are actually still outselling ebooks and audiobooks, but all three formats are selling well. So it just depends on what format people like. So as the author publisher, it makes sense to produce the book in as many formats as you can afford to do. Definitely print book and ebook to start, and then hopefully an audiobook soon thereafter, so that you don't lose any sales because people decide, oh, that book is not in the format that I prefer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course. And you mentioned before uploading the books to the print on demand platform. So obviously there's the main ones like Amazon KDP, but do you work with the other platforms as well? And have you
Yeah.
seen any, what are they like to work with compared to the Amazon platform?
Amazon is the gorilla, the big gorilla in the room. Of course, 80% of your books are going to be sold at Amazon. So we
Yeah.
recommend that authors open up a KDP account, and also lesser known but almost as important is ingramspark.com. And
Hmm.
Ingram is the largest book wholesaler in the world. It's a 100-year-old company. They will feed all of the outlets other than Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. They feed libraries, they feed other distributors, and so they fill in the gap there. And that's going to be probably 20% of your sales. Ingram is a better choice for the international market in some countries. So
Hmm.
the way that the economics of publishing work, Ingram takes a 55% wholesale discount off the cover price. They also feed physical bookstores. So, and then KDP, Amazon takes 40% of the cover price. So, by using both of those platforms together, the author can get the widest worldwide distribution at the lowest possible price.
Yeah. What differences have you noticed between Amazon KDP and Ingram Spark?
Ingram Spark's printing is better and more consistent in our experience, and they're also better if an error should occur, which happens at every printer. You know, these high-speed machines can sometimes make mistakes and do things crooked or wrong. Uh, Ingram Spark is great as far as customer service goes. Instant satisfaction for the author. KDP is a bigger company. Authors are not always, but sometimes likely to get the runaround and no satisfaction when a problem occurs.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed the printing quality with Ingram Spark is definitely higher with my books that are in both. But you're right,
Yeah.
it's impossible to not focus on how many sales you can get from Amazon compared to Ingram Spark, and it's much easier for beginners, I think, getting onto KDP.
Yeah, we'll see the difference. You know, if we take a book that's printed at KDP and a book that's printed at Ingram Spark from the same file side by side, the color will be different. It's just the nature of the beast because both companies have printing facilities all over the world and they print the book closest to the point of delivery. So the variations are unavoidable.
Yeah, no, of course. Now, in the packages that you have for authors, where it basically goes from the beginning right until the end, do you work with someone on a one-on-one basis through that? Do you have a project manager helping you through that whole publishing process?
Yes, I have two project managers actually, and then I'm also involved for questions that they can't handle. And so, yes, the author does have real human collaboration. We don't put them on an assembly line, my personal beef is when someone sends me a list of 20 FAQs to read to get the answer to a question. We don't do that. We will just answer the questions when they come up. And sometimes we need a little bit more time to answer. The reply may not be instant, but when you do get an answer from us, you're going to understand that we read the question and we're going to give you a complete answer.
And for people who want to work with you and have all those services, what level do they need to have their book at? Where do they need their manuscript to be?
It's ideal if the manuscript is finished and the author has made the book as good as they know how to make it. And then we will take over from there and polish it up to what it needs to be to go to market.
Yeah, because I think that editing parts that's one of your main services. I think that's probably one of the most difficult parts, especially for fiction authors, where you've got these different storylines happening and you've got to link them together. Is that something that you've noticed is a lot of work when you're working with the new authors?
Fiction, yes, definitely fiction is more work. And we have one of our editors was employed at Random House for many
Right.
years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she just dives in and really does an unbelievably thorough job. And sometimes it takes more than one round of editing on fiction, not so much on nonfiction, but fiction. Yeah, it's a lot more work, a lot more involved, but the result is usually worth it.
Yes, definitely. And so, what's the difference in the package when you've got a fiction writer or a non-fiction writer? What would the difference look like between those two things?
I don't charge a different rate. It just balances out as far as I'm concerned. So we charge the same rate for fiction as not and nonfiction.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Now, for people who are new authors as well, you also have coaching and support. So, what does that look like? Because I sometimes you just need someone who you can message and just be like, "Oh, what do I do about this question, or what's the best way to market this book?" So, I think that is a really, really good service that you offer. Could you tell me a bit about how that works?
Oh, it's necessary, right? Because again,
Yeah,
authors are coming into the field for the first time. I don't make a big structure out of it or a class or a course. We just answer the questions as they come up, and typically we'll exchange 200 or 300, sometimes more messages with the client in the course of doing the project. So that's actually in terms of time spent. The interaction, the collaboration is probably a bigger piece of the job than almost anything else we do.
yeah, great. I mean, I think it's a really good service that because sometimes people just have a little question. They don't really know where the best place to turn to and like who the best place to speak to is.
Yeah, and I believe we have a responsibility to do that, right? And that's really why I've been doing these podcasts, because authors are not always getting that, and I that makes me feel bad because book publishing is an art, and
Yeah,
good books have always been wonderful, entry into the wider world for everyone. And so I
yeah,
hate to see that die, and in some cases it is dying.
yeah. For people who've maybe got their first book and they, what are the things that the most common mistakes you see first authors make that they could maybe fix before coming to speak to you?
We get a lot of calls from authors at least once a week who hired somebody on their own, and they find that the either the cover designer doesn't know how to complete the cover. Sometimes and that's kind of a problem on Fiverr. They'll hire a cover designer who does just the front cover, and then when it comes time to do the spine and the back cover and the barcode, the designer may not have enough experience to understand how to do that, or how to make the printers are very particular about how the digital file has to be created. And so that's sometimes where the authors run into trouble, and they'll come to us and they'll say, "Can you fix my cover?" And sometimes the answer is no if the designer used low resolution files, or there's also an issue that some of the designers may not understand the legalities of using images. You can't just pick an image off the internet and use it. You have to have permission to use it. You need to buy royalty free or licensed images for a book cover. So, like I said, that's one of the things that you might not realize when you're publishing a book for the first time. And that's where we can come in, because we've been in the business. I've been in the business 52 years, 21 years as 1106 design. We can help you avoid mistakes like that.
Yeah, it's 100% right. I mean, you're right. You can get some good deals sometimes working with Fiverr or like Upwork or something like this, but there's mistakes that can get made that are often unfixable. If you get in trouble once your book's published, then that can be a black mark with Amazon. You can get your account banned. It can be not good if you get in trouble with Amazon. They could put a black mark on your account, and I've seen people lose their KDP accounts before for making mistakes such as using the wrong images, and
Yep.
so you do have to be careful. Yeah, 100%. Well, great. I mean, this has been really helpful to talk through the whole process, like the whole from beginning to end, and how people can get in touch with your services. So, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way they can get in touch with me is to go to 1106design.com. And at the very top of the website, I give away my free booklet, which is called Publish Like the Pros. And all they need to do is plug in an email address that will subscribe you to our newsletter. And you can
Yeah,
download the book, and you can unsubscribe in the next 5 minutes if you feel like it. That's okay. I want everybody to have this book so that they have the steps necessary to publish the right way, whether they work with us or not.
brilliant. Well, thank you very much. That's been really helpful, and I think people have learned a lot about the whole publishing process there. So, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Teddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1.